Have you ever had that feeling while sitting in a nice restaurant or walking through a neighborhood you're thinking of moving into, where you look around and wonder, how? How does everyone afford this? You see the new SUV in the driveway next door, the designer bags at the store, the effortless way people swipe their cards for $300 dinners. It leaves you with this quiet, heavy pressure in your chest. You start to feel like you're the only one who didn't get the memo, like you're the only one struggling to keep the engine running, while everyone else is cruising on autopilot. But I want to tell you something that might be hard to hear, yet strangely liberating. A lot of what you're seeing isn't wealth. It's a performance. We are living in an era where it has never been easier to look rich while being completely, devastatingly broke. And the most dangerous part isn't the lack of money. It's the psychological cage that comes with pretending you have it. Today, I want to share 7 quiet signs that someone is drowning on the inside, even if their life looks like a masterpiece. And if you recognize yourself in some of these, I want you to breathe. Because the moment we quit pretending is the moment we begin creating something that actually matters. People are taught to think money is something you can show off. We think being rich means having expensive things people can see. Fancy cars, big houses, designer stuff. So deep down, many of us feel like if we're not spending money, we're not really successful. But real wealth usually isn't visible. It's the things you decided not to buy. It's having the freedom to quit a job you hate, pay your bills without stress, and sleep peacefully at night. Most people who are secretly broke aren't bad people. They're not even necessarily irresponsible. A lot of the time, they're just stuck in a cycle of keeping up appearances that they don't know how to escape. They've confused "I can borrow money" with "I actually have money." And honestly, the whole world pushes this. Your bank wants you to spend more. Your neighbors want you to keep up so their own spending feels normal. It's like a shared illusion. We dress it up by calling it lifestyle or treating ourselves. But the truth is, a lot of us are walking right along the edge of a cliff. One bad break, a flat tire, a surprise medical bill, or a slow month at work, and everything can crumble. Let's talk about why we do this to ourselves and how to spot the cracks before they spread. The first sign is what I call the velocity of the direct deposit. This is the person whose money comes in fast and disappears even faster. Payday hits on Friday morning, and by Friday night, most of it is already spoken for, not by savings, but by bills, subscriptions, and decisions they made weeks ago. They're always dressed nicely and look like they're doing fine, but ask them about a trip 3 months from now, and they go quiet. They're stuck waiting for the next paycheck to show up. They're not really managing their life. They're just juggling due dates. It's exhausting, always living 1 week away from a crisis. When your whole lifestyle depends on next week's paycheck, you're not rich. You're just a highly paid delivery driver for your creditors. The second sign is more subtle, the defensive luxury mindset. You've probably seen people who get weirdly protective about the brands they use. They insist on name brand coffee, expensive gym memberships, or the highest model of a car. For them, these things aren't just products. They're part of their identity. When someone is secretly struggling financially, they often use luxury to cover up their insecurity. They feel like if they stop looking successful for even a moment. Then there's the third sign, the zero-margin lifestyle. From the outside, everything looks perfect. Beautiful house, kids in all the best activities, great parties. But if you look a little closer, there's zero room for error. They're running at 100% capacity all the time. If their income dropped by even 5%, the whole thing would start falling apart. They don't have an emergency fund. They have a hope fund. They hope the car doesn't break down. They hope the roof holds up. They hope the company doesn't lay anyone off. Living with no margin is like driving 100 miles an hour with no brakes. It feels exciting until you hit a curve. The fourth sign is depending too much on rewards points and credit card perks to maintain a lifestyle. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with using points smartly, but there's a big difference between using them as a bonus and relying on them just to afford things. Sometimes you'll see people taking luxury trips while constantly juggling multiple credit cards to pay for flights, hotels, or shopping. That can be a sign they're financially stretched. In many cases, they're borrowing from the future just to enjoy the present. They convince themselves the vacation was basically free because of the points, while ignoring the high-interest credit card balance they still can't fully pay off every month. The fifth sign is selective frugality. This is fascinating to watch. This is the person who will spend $80 on a bottle of wine at dinner to impress the table, but then spend 20 minutes arguing over a $5 parking fee or complaining about the price of eggs. It's a disconnect in their value system. They prioritize the visible spend over the practical spend. When your financial decisions are dictated by who is watching, you lose control of your own narrative. You're no longer the protagonist of your life. You're an actor in a play you didn't write. The sixth sign is a lack of what I call boring wealth. I'm talking about the unsexy stuff. Proper insurance, a will, a simple diversified index fund, and a boring savings account that just quietly grows. Secretly broke people usually have the flash, but none of the foundation. They'll drop $1,200 on the newest phone, but have no health insurance. They'll rock designer shoes, but put nothing into retirement. They're so focused on looking good right now that they're basically stealing from their future self. It feels like self-care, but it's actually self-sabotage. Finally, the seventh sign is the saddest one: constant stress about time. Money and time are deeply connected. When you have money, you gain more control over your time. When you don't, you end up trading most of your time just to keep up with bills and responsibilities. Someone who is secretly struggling financially often feels rushed all the time. They're always worried about work, side hustles, or the next payment coming up. Taking a break feels impossible because they can't afford to slow down. Even when they're with family or friends, their mind is still stuck on money problems and financial pressure. So if someone looks successful on the outside, but never seems relaxed or truly happy, there's a good chance they're paying for that lifestyle with constant stress and exhaustion. So why does this happen? Why do we do this to ourselves? I think it's because we've been told that our worth is tied to our output and our possessions. We feel that if we aren't growing or showing, we're failing. But the turning point comes when you realize that the most expensive thing you can buy is the opinion of people you don't even like. Imagine for a second what it would feel like to let go. Imagine driving a car that's 5 years old, fully paid for, and not caring what the person in the lane next to you thinks. Imagine having 6 months of expenses in a bank account, just sitting there. It's not exciting. It doesn't give you a dopamine hit, but it gives you something much better. It gives you the ability to breathe. It gives you the power to walk away from a toxic boss. It gives you the capacity to be generous without hesitation. That is the moment the psychology shifts. You stop trying to look like you've made it, and you start actually making it. You realize that freedom isn't having the best of everything. It's needing the least. If you feel like you've been living one of these signs, I want you to know that the exit ramp is closer than you think. But you have to be willing to be uncool for a little while. Start by auditing your visible spending. Look at the things you buy primarily because you want others to see you having them. It could be the car, the clothes, or even the expensive hobby. What would happen if you scaled that back? The world won't end. In fact, most people won't even notice because they're too busy worrying about their own performance. Next, build a wall of silence. That's your emergency fund. It's called a wall of silence because it allows you to stay quiet when life gets loud. Start with just $1,000, then 1 month of expenses. Don't invest it, don't touch it. Just let it sit there and provide you with the psychological safety that no designer bag ever could. And finally, redefine what luxury means to you. To me, luxury isn't a brand name. Luxury is a slow Tuesday morning. Luxury is being able to tell your kid yes to a small toy without checking your app. Luxury is the absence of financial fear. When you change the definition, the pressure to perform starts to evaporate. Money is a tool, but it's also a mirror. It reflects our deepest fears and our highest aspirations. If you've been using it to hide, please know that you aren't alone. We've all felt that pressure to belong, to be seen as successful, to be enough. But you are already enough. You don't need to borrow your way into a life you can't afford, to prove your value to a world that isn't really paying attention anyway. True wealth is the peace of mind that comes from knowing you are okay, regardless of what's in your driveway. Take it one step at a time. Be patient with yourself. Progress isn't a straight line, and it definitely isn't a filtered photo on a screen. It's a quiet, steady build toward a life that feels good on the inside, not just one that looks good on the outside. You've got this, and you're doing better than you think.